I want to make sure to mention a few things to you before we continue on with our Seder. There is a Haggadah similar to what we use for Passover, a Rosh Hashanah Haggadah. You can find it on our website if you didn't previously. If you want to go there now on your device or on a different device, you can download it in a PDF form or you can print it. So if you like to follow along, that is available for you. If not, you can just sit back and enjoy. But I want to answer the question of why, Rabbi, are we having a Seder for Rosh Hashanah? We have Seders for Passover, but I've never heard of a Seder for Rosh Hashanah. And that is correct. We are more familiar with the Seder for Passover, but the Rosh Hashanah Seder is a Sephardic tradition that has existed for many centuries. And in Sephardic homes throughout the world, they have a Rosh Hashanah Seder complete with symbols that are blessed to represent many different things that we hope for the new year. One of the symbols that we're all familiar with, of course, is the apples and honey. Some of the other symbols, pomegranates, dates, and you'll learn about some of the other ones in our Seder. But I want to tell you a few things so that you can have as good an experience as possible tonight. One is this: while we are in synagogue together in our homes, this is also an informal, interactive experience, and we want you to feel comfortable. This Seder is about creativity and innovation. And if you find yourself, as you're going through the Seder, hungry, once you've blessed something, make sure, take a bite so that you're not famished and you're eating throughout the experience. Excuse me? Also, know that the Seder and the symbols are really just a jumping off point. And we hope that you'll continue to do these blessings and these toasts throughout the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, and that you might begin to see some of the things in your homes or on your tables differently and think of blessings that you might wish to create. Table over there. One of the new symbols that was created this year for a Rosh Hashanah Seder is, some people are using an orange with cloves in it to represent the pandemic. And we all pray that this pandemic will end quickly and that as many people as possible will remain healthy and stay healthy. We pray for peace and healing, not only for those who are struggling with COVID-19, but also for all of those who are helping support those in need tonight. And so you might at some point during Rosh Hashanah want to take an orange and put some cloves in it, or play around with a different round symbol with some fun protrusions to represent the pandemic at your Seder table. So Rosh Hashanah Seders are not only for Passover. This ancient custom comes with a meal accompanied with blessings and wishes for the new year. And these foods are consumed in a special order. That's where the word Seder comes from. And the tradition actually appears in the Talmud. In a Talmudic source, it appears twice with a slight variation. And I am looking now in our Haggadah on page 5, and it says, "Now that you have said an omen is a significant thing, a person should always be accustomed to eating at the beginning of the year on Rosh Hashanah, a gourd, green beans, leeks, beets, and dates." Those are some of the things that we will play with and say blessings over tonight. What a sacred morning, Emmanuel. What a sacred experience to be here together with you. You can now take a seat, get comfortable. We're going to offer you some words to meditate on, some things to think over as we enter into this new sacred year, 5781, this new season. It's so good to be with all of you. One July morning, I awoke to go check my butterfly garden in my yard. The sun's hot rays were shining bright, and I was worried that my flowers might have died because of the oppressive heat. Every morning I get up and head out to the yard to spend a few quiet moments with this precious garden. And on this morning, as I stepped out of my bedroom door, I was stopped in my tracks. I gazed sleepily below the sage bush that fills the window by my bedroom as I saw an entire shell of a snake skin. I was struck dead in my tracks on this summer morning, transfixed. What might that process have felt like? How liberating to shimmy off one's old skin and leave behind only a shell of oneself, to regenerate and to move forward. Snakes shed their skin to allow for further growth, and they remove parasites that may have attached to their old skin. As a snake grows, its skin becomes stretched. And unlike human skin, snake skin doesn't grow as the animal grows. Eventually, it reaches a point where further growth is not possible. So it leaves the entirety of the old skin behind. Emmanuel, what if we humans did something like this? What are you leaving behind this year? What do you need to shed or let go of to start anew? I pray for the world that we collectively shed our fear, disease, loneliness, isolation, depression, this pandemic of COVID-19. May we shed racism, hatred, xenophobia. We must shed these parasites so we can move forward and grow into our new 5781. What's on your list to leave behind in 5780? And now I want to invite you to imagine, to dream, to hope, to look forward. What do you imagine when you look forward into 5781? We're looking forward to a vaccine, to an end to our current isolated pandemic state, to a stronger and more innovative Judaism, a more connected and caring Jewish community, a fresh start, a life deeply grounded in things that matter to us, that are seeped in our tradition, in our ethics, stronger connections to those you love. I look forward to a renewed appreciation for communal gatherings, international travel, an appreciation of the basic things that we now know are true gifts. And I want to invite you to think about how different are we when we leave that old skin behind. The things that worry us, that weigh us down, how others see us, negative stories we tell ourselves, resentments, pieces of the past, they keep us stagnant. They keep us unable to change and to grow. These worries and fears keep us immobile. They keep us stuck in a reality of not understanding. We have a hard time breaking out of it. There's a freedom, Emmanuel, as we release these ideas that no longer serve us, that chains us to who we are not, that keep us stuck in cycles of shame and fear. When we're able to put them down, to shed them like a snake skin, to put them in God's hands, we can step into some new skin. Breathe life into a different way of being. Imagine the possibilities that we long for. So many of you know, over the past few weeks, I've been raising butterflies, studying their process of transformation. Caterpillars, similar to snakes, molt, but they go through this process multiple times. Their process of transformation from caterpillar to butterfly can teach us about the tshuva process that we enter into right now. Caterpillars eat ferociously as they are about to transform. Then they send out a thread or multiple threads of silk and attach themselves somewhere up high with these strands as they prepare to begin their transformation. Hanging upside down, their body builds a chrysalis around them, and they become covered in this outer layer. Their form is no longer recognizable as the chrysalis begins to grow thicker. They gestate inside for about 7 to 10 days. And then the chrysalis gets darker and darker, and they begin to grow new skin under that outer skin. And they eventually shed those skins. Their body almost liquefies in order to be able to turn into a beautiful butterfly that just emerges from the chrysalis. Emmanuel, that's each of us this year. We too go through that process. So I ask you again, what change do you need this year? What change does our community need? What change does our world need? How can we help move the needle towards creating good change in those areas, in our personal life, in our community, and in our world? In our personal lives, we begin with tshuva, renewal, return. So I want to invite you to make those tough phone calls. Ask for forgiveness. Apologize for the hurt that you have caused to your loved ones and those in your life. Invite them to share with you the things that you need to know to create that healing. And listen, deeply listen. I've begun the process. Will you join me? Our community needs so much, Emmanuel. I know you know that. And our congregational Emmanuel community this year will partner with a local African American church. We will get to know them and their incredible faith leaders, many of whom are at the helm for ending racism in San Bernardino County, in our cities, in our local area. We will be launching an interfaith initiative reaching out to our Sikh, Muslim, Christian, and other faith communities in our local area to learn more about loving our neighbors and becoming partners in justice, champions for peace. We will give food and time and money to local charities that are helping heal those who are struggling due to our economy's collapse. And we have already begun this. If you picked up your high holiday gift bags, many of you donated food already, which we will continue to collect through Yom Kippur and donate both to Redlands Family Service as well as to Cornerstone Church. In our world, Emmanuel, we will get out and vote. We will help register others. We will take people to the polls. We will ensure that as many as possible can participate in this vital civic duty, exercising their voice in our future. Emmanuel, in this year, may we have a good change. As you saw in the many communications sent home, in the letter in your High Holy Day bags, in your High Holy Day packets, our theme for the year is good change. Rosh Hashanah celebrates the creation of the world when everything can be made new again. The metaphor of the book of life gives an impression that it's all predetermined, decided. But our book is being rewritten each and every day. It's never too late to change it, to edit it, or to rewrite a storyline. Today, we are invited to change the rest of our lives. Shana Tova. I want to invite you to sit back, and before I begin, I want to offer my deepest gratitude to really all of you, without whom we would not be able to do this sacred Kol Nidre evening. I have to say it's quite strange, and we miss you deeply as myself and my partner are gathered, the two of us together in this sanctuary, without your bodies in the seats and your crinkling cough drops and your whispering to one another and the echoes of the music reverberating through this space. We miss you dearly. Canterburn Vogel, I wish you were in this space with me. I know you wish you were in this space as well. And my heart and my gratitude goes out to you, my clergy partner, whom has endured so much in the past 48 hours. I wish I could hug you and have you in this space with us. And we all send you healing prayers for you and for Ira and Aiden. And our temple president, Stuart Sweet, who is always there making sure that things function on Zoom, things function in our sanctuary, things function financially and in every other way for our synagogue and our congregation. We are so grateful to you, Stuart, for all that you do, of which the list is too long to name. Our board of directors and our executive board, we would not be here without you. And all of you members, family, and friends, and if you're not yet a member, but you love this experience, you can become a member, and you can find out after the holidays how to do so. We invite you and we welcome you in our wide open tent. And we thank our incredible partners and our families who allow us and enable us to do the work that we do. Without strong partners, without sometimes agreeable children, without the help of caretakers and family members and bubbies and zadies and aunties, none of this would be possible. So thank you, each and every one of you, for allowing this experience to go forth. And of course, Jerry Ripley, our choir director, and our wonderful Emmanuel choir, and Michelle Engdahl, who has blown shofar for us for so many years. We love you. We are grateful for you. And we are in awe. And our incredible cellist who has played with us for so many years. Michelle, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your sounds echo through this sanctuary and remain in our hearts. So with that, sit back and relax, and let's go on a journey together. I woke this morning very early, around 5 a.m., with an impending dread. Waking at these early hours from a deep sleep is always unsettling. If I'm fully honest, Emmanuel, these past 7 months, I've had many of these nights. I awaken concerned about our congregation, the fires, systemic racism, the political upheaval, and with fears about my family. These have been 7 months of deep anxiety, fear, and heavy grief. But this grief is different than normal. It's weightier. We've lost all sense of normalcy. We've lost loved ones. We've lost our routine, our work colleagues, our gyms, our children's schools, our spiritual safe havens. The losses experienced in these past 7 months have been more than those experienced on the tragic day of September 11th, 2001. My fears often center around what wisdom might best support you. Many of my colleagues who have been doing this work for 3 decades more than I say this is one of the most challenging times they have rabbied through ever. It may sound odd, but I find comfort in knowing that this is a tough time for all of us. I realized last week that one thing we need to do is name the pain and the loss and the grief in order to move through it. We Jews are good at grief. We have an organized system set up. But in order to heal, we must first walk through the challenging feelings. This is how we seek the light and work towards hope. We must first acknowledge the stumbling blocks before us. Sometimes, when we've done all we can do, all that's left is to offer it up to God. God, we sit here tonight on the holiest of holy nights of the year. We're wearing white. We're imitating the angels. We're turning our hearts towards you. We cry out to you. God, please stop the hatred. Stop the senseless murder. Stop the racism, the death, the deep loneliness, and end this pandemic, please. We would trade almost anything to wake up tomorrow in a world surrounded with the comforts we once took for granted. God, I long to hug my parents, to invite them into my home without the fear of putting their health at risk. I miss my Emmanuel community so deeply. We long for hugs. We miss Friday evenings together in our beautiful sanctuary. We long to sit at the dinner table with others, to venture to the store without fear or concern. Take away this virus that has run like wildfire through our elderly, our young, so much unnecessary loss. God, end the hatred and division. Put out these fires. Please help our climate. Protect our firefighters, our essential workers, and cool the earth. God, tonight, we seek you. We reach for you. We long to know that you are with us, and please, God, send us strength to do the work of Yom Kippur. Help us humble ourselves and ask for forgiveness and offer it where needed with sincerity. Open our hearts. One trope that echoes throughout the history of the Jewish people. We've been through so many dark times, stemming from anti-Semitism, religious intolerance, genocide, and mass violence. A few examples include the destruction of the Second Temple, the Christian Crusades in 1095, the bubonic plague during the middle 14th century in Europe, when 100,000 Jews were burned alive because they were scapegoated for the plague, even though they were dying as well. The Spanish Inquisition, cholera, the Spanish flu, the Holocaust, so many wars in Israel, but still, we are here. We survived. During this pandemic, I find comfort learning from others who have been through horrific times, much more difficult times than ours. Eddie Hilsum, a Dutch Jew, a student of Jungian psychology, kept a diary from 1941 to 1943 when she died in Auschwitz. Somehow, this mystic and young student of psychology, while struggling with her own demons, found gratitude, optimism in the darkest of places on the planet. It seems as I read her diary that the darker times got for her, the more faith and hope she found. If she can find light in those times, so can we. She writes in her diary in 1943, "The misery here is quite terrible, and yet, late at night when the day has slunk away into the depths behind me, I often walk with a spring in my step along the barbed wire. And then, time and again, it soars straight from my heart. I can't help it. That's just the way it is. Like some elementary force, the feeling that life is glorious and magnificent, and that one day we shall be building a whole new world." When I hit dark moments during this pandemic, I open up Eddie's diary. How could she find gratitude for life while living in a concentration camp shortly before her death? What has kept me going through these tough moments? Acknowledging that which I do have, a community to serve, wonderful parents, 2 beautiful, healthy children, a partner, a loving puppy, a beautiful home, and the list goes on and on. Emmanuel, what do you have to offer gratitude for tonight? I find the more things taken away from everyday life, the more I grow in appreciation for them. I don't think you would find me a few years ago longing to give a hug to my parents. I certainly didn't appreciate being able to pop into a supermarket or store to pick something up without fearing for my safety or others. Take things away and we begin to miss and appreciate their presence. What do you miss, Emmanuel, on this Yom Kippur? Who sat with you in synagogue last year? Who did you celebrate breakfast with? Who was at your Thanksgiving table? How did you celebrate Passover during this pandemic? One thing I know for certain is that the Jewish people are a people made of resilient stock, that we will get through this together, just like we've come through so many challenges in our history. But tonight, as we gather to repair our relationship with God, we cry out in anger, in fear, in exhaustion, pleading to you, God. We raise our voices like the shofar, call for justice, work to end racism, wear masks and wash hands repeatedly until this pandemic begins to dissipate. Emmanuel, our work is heavy. There are hungry people to feed and clothe, fires to put out, racism to fight, tears to be shed, voters to get to the polls. Even though we're tired and overwhelmed and at times despondent, we are being called to keep going. Despite our exhaustion, this is not a time to stop or give up or think someone else will take care of it. In our texts, we read, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. We are not compelled to complete the work, but we must begin it tonight, now. Yom Kippur calls us to take ownership for our wrongs and our indifference. Now is a time for innovation, for connection, for healing and acts of justice. This is a time for speaking up and speaking out and taking action. You are needed, your heart and your time and your energy. Unfortunately, the hungry, the lonely, the elderly, those struggling to survive are not getting better. The disparity is only growing between those who need and those who have. And that means we must continue our sacred work. One of my favorite moments in Torah is when we find Moses at the burning bush. Moses asks God what his name is, and God replies, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. This Hebrew phrase is conjugated in the future tense. It means I will be what I will be. Rabbi Jonathan Sacks teaches God's call is to that which is not yet. Humankind is unique because we can imagine a world that does not exist. The Greeks gave the world the concept of tragedy and fate. The Jews give the world hope. We outline a system with which to beat despair, a call to heal, to repair, a belief in freedom. Rabbi Sacks writes, Judaism is a religion of details, but we miss the point if we do not sometimes step back and see the larger picture. To be a Jew is to be an agent of hope in a world serially threatened by despair. Every ritual, every mitzvah, every syllable of the Jewish story, every element of Jewish law is a protest against escapism, resignation, or the blind acceptance of fate. Judaism is a sustained struggle, the greatest ever known against the world that is, in the name of the world that could be, should be, but is not yet. There is no more challenging vocation. Throughout history, when human beings have sought hope, they found it in the Jewish story. Judaism is the religion, and Israel the home of hope. We, Emmanuel, are a people of hope who've endured much. What we are living through is minimal compared to the atrocities of our ancestors faced throughout Jewish history. Rabbi Akiva was burned alive with a Torah scroll wrapped around his body. We must wear a mask and wash our hands. This pandemic will end. Hopefully, in the not too distant future, we will see vaccines and begin to heal and return to our lives as they once were. God, on this holiest of nights, we gather in our digital sanctuary to seek you, to find comfort and in our community and strength to carry on in our world on fire. God, Hineni, we are here. Avinu Malkeinu, we cry out to you. God, hear our call, answer us. Help us continue to imagine a new world, a better world, one in which pain is healed and through loss we are found. God, help us to dream again. Gemar Chatima Tova, everyone. It's that time where we learn together a little bit of Torah, and I hope that today's words and yesterday's evening's words lift you up in your spirit. Before I begin, I must offer my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you to our board of directors, to our temple president, to our cantor, our choir director, all our volunteers who helped make this happen, to our sisterhood, to my assistant Pam Sink, and to Judy Filsinger, who hold down things and make sure everything is still running and functioning. Without all of you, this could not happen. And we are grateful, incredibly grateful, not only for your service, but for your love and your attention that helps keep us going in these challenging times. So sit back and listen to these words, and may they lift you this morning. On Rosh Hashanah, we read the story of Akedat Yitzchak. This troubling text has always haunted me. There are so many voices that are missing from this tale. Where is Sarah's wailing voice? As Abraham takes the knife and prepares to sacrifice his only son, the one they waited and prayed for, the one that they would have paid inordinate amounts of money towards, that they would have seen a myriad of doctors and been injected many times with fertility shots for. And where is Isaac's adult voice? The scholars tell us he was 38 years old at the time of the Akedah. He was the child that his parents so desperately wanted, and he loved and adored his parents. He was terrified and felt abandoned and alone when his own father raised a knife to end his life. How could he possibly do that? Why did he not stand up to his father? Why didn't he even question what was about to take place? Together, we imagine these conversations as they came down from the mountain. Isaac to Abraham. Dad, how could you possibly even consider doing this to me? I know you love God and you're a man of faith, but Dad, it's me, Isaac, the one you waited so long for. We love hanging out together, having guy time. I was the son you wanted to teach to camp and to fish and to become just like you. How could you take me up this mountain knowing what might happen? I want to believe that you would never go through with it, but after this, I'm not so sure. Dad, do you love God more than me? Can that be possible? I'm heartbroken, Daddy. How can I ever trust you again? From Sarah to Abraham. Abraham, I am burning up with anger. I can't even look at you, let alone talk to you. What were you thinking? Or why weren't you thinking? We waited so long, prayed so hard, worked for that little boy. Finally, a son all my own. How could you possibly prepare to once again have me lose a son? This one is the one that we longed for forever. And to kill him with your own hands, even if it is for God. Abe, I can never forgive you for this. You have wounded me so deeply at my core. I'm not sure we can recover from this. I can't look at you without boiling with anger and erupting in tears. We learn in the very next parsha that Sarah dies. This is no coincidence. No doubt, Sarah died of a broken heart. The three pillars of our Jewish family never speak to one another again. We wonder, could Sarah ever look at her husband again? Could Isaac ever cuddle up next to his father? Today is Yom Kippur, Emmanuel. Imagine if you were Abraham for a minute. What apology would be on your lips? What kind of forgiveness would you crave? It's Yom Kippur. It's time for us to think about our own forgiveness that we seek and that we wish to offer others. Imagine if you were Abraham for a minute, the apology you would want to make. What forgiveness might feel like. What kind of forgiveness you would be craving. So how do we ask for forgiveness for unforgivable acts? Rambam, the famous medieval commentator who lived in 12th century Spain, outlines a 3-step process which we can interpret into 6 steps for our modern times. Rambam teaches that in order to do complete tshuva, 1, we must regret our actions. We must feel remorse for what we've done wrong. Recognizing the issue is the first step. 2, we must renounce our act, meaning we reject any justification for any acting that we did. 3, we must confess by acknowledging aloud to the person we have hurt. We admit that we have done wrong. The person whom we have hurt must hear it directly from us, and we must accept the blame for our action. 4, reconcile. The first 3 steps really focus on the one who did wrong, but this step, the 4th one, focuses on the one whom we have hurt. Reconciliation begins with a sincere apology. It continues with an investment to work to heal the wound. 5, we make amends. It is a physical and spiritual action in the world to right our wrong. Financial compensation, which doesn't heal but comes from our own pockets, giving tzedakah to an organization that fights similar issues, volunteering of your time. This is the beginning of proving our commitment to change. And finally, 6, we must resolve. Tshuva is only complete if we resolve not to commit the same offense again. This can be accomplished by having recognized we were wrong, apologizing for the offense, and reimbursing the party for the pain and suffering that we caused. We begin to repair. We resolve to not fall into the same behavior pattern when a similar opportunity arises. Could Sarah ever forgive her husband? Could Isaac ever forgive his father? Can you forgive someone who hurt you? Can you accept another's sincere apology? Can you ask for forgiveness? God, Spirit of the universe, today on this Yom Kippur, may our hearts be open to offer forgiveness. May we be humble enough to ask for forgiveness, and may our forgiveness be accepted here and on high. Gamal Chatima Tova, everyone. May you have a meaningful fast and an open heart this Yom Kippur. Amen, 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 Emmanuel, on this holiest of holy days, on Yom Kippur, during our Yisker service, may we all feel the comfort of community, of one another gathered here together. While we miss you in this space, we are together. Our hearts are open. Our arms are reaching out wide to embrace each and every one of you. I just want to share a few things First of all, this is this year's book of memory. If you picked up your high holiday gift bag, it should have been in there, or you received it in the mail. So if you don't have it, I invite you to take a moment to locate it, because you will want it after our sermon this afternoon. Also, I want to send deep gratitude to Stuart Sweet, our temple president, who put together that beautiful photo montage of many of your loved ones. And we know that not all of our loved ones could have made it in there, but we know that they are in our hearts, and we are holding each and every one of them along with you this afternoon. And now I want to invite you, if you have your Machzor with you, to turn to page 572. 572. This Yizkor meditation was written by Rabbi Aaron Pankin of blessed memory. When we ask God to remember the souls of our departed at Yizkor, we request more than a mere mental act. We pray implicitly that by focusing on our loved ones' souls, God will take action on their behalf and will save them from whatever pain they may be suffering, wherever they may be. At the same time, the implication is that this act of remembrance also constitutes a guarantee of Jewish continuity, well beyond those we remember and far beyond us as well. In remembering and in asking for God's remembrance, we request divine help in continuing our people's trajectory beyond ourselves to achieve the ultimate aims of our people's history. Yizkor is, in the end, not a prayer for the dead, but a promise by the living. The heart never forgets those we love, and long after they are physically gone, their love remains with us, healing, comforting, and guiding us. Her crooked pinkies played piano as she sang sweetly. Those cradled 3 babies, those hands, and her hands worked so hard each and every day. I look at my hands, pinkies crooked like hers, work hard every day. When I look at my hands, I see hers. Simple, kind grandma who grew up on a farm, one of 12, would take us apple picking in Oak Glen, and then, the apple pies she would make. She always made sure I was happy, taking me shopping and loving me. At this time of year, I miss my father and my mother, my moral compasses, teaching me honesty and integrity, and filling me up with love. Bringing together eclectic collections of people, often more non-Jews than Jews, especially around the SEDER table or any holiday table for that matter. These were her favorite things. It was the spirit of those who celebrated together that made her heart sing. She loved our community, her 2 beautiful sons and grandbaby, and her beloved husband, who says that she built him from the ground up. Her heart beat for tikkun olam, inclusion and love. She was a torchlighter and even had the honor of lighting our Ner Tamid for the first time. What a metaphor for who she was in her life, lighting hearts aflame with love and joy and laughter. Piano music floating through the room, always the sound of music at home. She taught me love and kindness, to pay attention to history and the politics of the world. Don't forget her famous phrase, You catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Oh, Mom, how I miss you saying that now. My strict, silent dad, how I loved you when you embraced me and shared your challenges with alcohol like mine. Dad, you trusted me and dared to be raw and vulnerable. How I wish my two youngest knew you, Dad. The smells from Mom's kitchen on very special occasions, stuffed veal breast, pickled tongue, chopped liver, grivness for the dog, and my father's terrifyingly loud sneezes that shook the quiet house. Dad, you would say, "Tuches afin tish," or say what you mean when he got into an argument with someone at work. Passover and Hanukkah were our holidays, but I still think of you at this time of year. After a bath, in my blue flannel pajamas, my father brushing out my curls and braiding my hair. "You are beautiful," he'd whisper. I never felt as lovely as I did in that moment. I miss you, Daddy. I still can see him sitting in his recliner with his glasses on, book open in his hands. He was a soft-spoken bachelor and temple member since 1955. My dad sought out my mom wearing a brand new sport jacket purchased for his date, dressed to impress. He was shy and so kind. When Mom was pregnant and feeling down, he came home with a beige silk scarf, complete with feathers on the end, just to cheer her up. That was my dad, so generous and kind to his family and our congregation. 40 years with my mom, they went around the world together. He could make a mean Caesar salad from scratch, loved wine and good food, and loved to barbecue for his little tiny peanut brittle, his granddaughter. Oh, how we miss you, my strength and my support, who was always there to help me. Grandpa would bounce me on his knee singing, "Seesaw, Marjorie Jaw, do it again, Grandpa," I would beg. You were so much fun. Mommy, you left me 2 weeks after my 5th birthday. I miss you every day. I wish we had more time to make more memories together. I loved dancing around the dinner table, singing Hanukkah songs, and your homemade Halloween costumes for us. Mommy, you created a house full of love and calm. Every summer, I would visit you, a source of unconditional love. 3 summer weeks went way too fast on my visit with you, my favorite aunt and uncle and my 3 cousins. You were the ones I loved more than anyone else. My mother figure. You were courageous, a fighter, a lover, the most generous and loyal person. Oh, how your laugh was contagious. Grandma, you called me Shayna Madel. I love the bottom drawer of your hutch reserved for our toys and coloring books, such a special place. Oh, the deli spreads you would put out for us in your New York City apartment. More food than the few of us needed. Grandma, all you wanted was to see me have kids. I wish you could see them now. Dad, you would always play devil's advocate, helping me see things from every side. You always took the time to help me with my math despite your long hours at work. And you reminded me to make my pros and cons list when weighing a big decision. Now my kids do that. Your lame dad jokes and goofy tricks, they would make me smile even today, even though I groaned back then. Dad, I miss sharing with you the important moments in our life, bouncing ideas off you and hearing your opinions. His motto was, "Life is good." He cherished us, his family and congregation Emmanuel. He fought his brain tumor for 21 years, a long battle. But you never gave up hope. You lived life to the fullest. You taught your psychology students and counseled your patients, offering support to others as you battled your own struggles. You served our temple as treasurer and VP and eventually president. Luckily, we saw the kids graduate high school and college, watched our daughter marry her beloved and become a doctor. You would love what they are doing now, wowing crowds at SeaWorld and nurturing patients in private practice, and how you loved being present for your beautiful granddaughter's birth. My love, you were sensitive and smart and funny and stubborn, and we miss you every day. Bubby and Zadie, Nana and Papa, you're loved beyond measure, and each forever in our hearts. Dad, your ever-present optimism, especially in the face of adversity, is always with me. I loved to watch you lose yourself in your artwork, always coming out a little different than you imagined. And oh, how you loved food. Sandy's wings, Dad's meatballs, elaborate Sunday dinners that consumed the whole kitchen. I'm more like you in those ways than I realized. And the comfort we brought you and the pride you had for each of us. Dad, you're very missed. You would always say to me, "Did I tell you yet today? I love you." You never missed a day. We danced every day around the kitchen, and on those special occasions, that single red rose in the bud vase always, without fail. I miss that. I continue today our daily cocktail hour, regaling with you the tales of my days. All the rounds of golf we played, you, the golfer, and me, the caddy. Oh, how you love driving all over the world, Italy and Israel, some of your favorites. You made everyone feel good with your compliments, highlighting jewelry or eye color. It didn't matter. How you loved the sacred land of Israel. We took 15 trips in all. I'm grateful we planned for when one of us would be left. It's brought me comfort in these tough times without you. I love you and I miss you. Our beloved son-in-law, you had a great mind, wonderful empathy and loving heart, extended to everyone, but especially for your wife, our daughter, and your two beautiful children. We miss you always and send you love. My love was a people magnet always. Traveling in Ireland on our way to see the Blarney Castle, I looked down and I saw your wheelchair surrounded by our fellow travelers. It turns out someone had a question, and so you answered it for everyone. You were not only an accomplished Egyptologist, but you were schooled in the history of the British Empire. Oh, how I love you and miss you, my sweet. It is a sad story. One I would shun at the movie theater, too much loss. A big, strong boy suffers and dies after scarcely a quarter of a century, living holy and touching many. It is a story of recklessness, of sex gone deadly, of an evil virus that knows no bounds. His, a particularly distinctive soul, gifted with seemingly limitless creative talent, a writer, potter, painter, framer, singer, actor, humorist, one with an exceptional eye for beauty, a love of the unexpected, a charismatic effect on family, friends, and mere acquaintances. Shriveled and dead at age 26, that was over 3 decades ago. The pain of losing him yet burns harsh and clear, but only when I allow it. Too much loss. He was filled with pride. He was born to build. He had a good heart, and he had a strong will. He made the prettiest girl blush, and she became his bride. In a matter of months, I was kicking inside. I am the son of a carpenter. Married to the love of your life for 67 years. How I miss our Denny's meals together and your incredible skill on the accordion and harmonica. Dad, you were a true Sabra, born in Israel, instilling a love of life and music and family for us forever. Daddy, how you loved piano, music composition, yoga, and swimming. You told amazing jokes and spoke 7 languages. Only you and your brother Leon survived the Shoah. Daddy, how I wish we could stand together again in shul, next to one another for the Kaddish as you bow from side to side, connecting you to all of your family you lost. In those moments, you were connected with those who died during the Shoah, forever fusing family bonds. I could always feel your sadness and grief, even as a young girl in those moments. Your accent, Daddy, often made people think you were speaking a different language, even when you were speaking in English. Oh, how I miss that voice, that accent today. Mom, you always said, rush slowly. Now written on a bench where you love taking your favorite walks at Cottage Grove Place retirement home in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Mom, I wish I could be with you today. You always remarked how there should be more places to sit down. I know you'll have many of them now. Mom, you loved parties. Wish we could throw one more together today. Always the life of the party. Must be where I learned to host so well from. Grandma, with only an elementary school education, you still spoke 2 languages fluently. You managed to snag the neighborhood hunk just after he was drafted. Not sure how you did it. Grandma, you were a liberated woman who worked in Manhattan and whose favorite thing to make for dinner was reservations. Oh, how you told a mean, dirty joke, even to me, your grandson. You lived every moment to the fullest, living all over the world and keeping yourself and others happy. What a gift. Grandma, when you moved to Florida, you moved 10 of your friends with you, and you continued to be the queen of the neighborhood. I have the perfect one for you, Bubala, you would say to me or to your friends. Your chronic pain or your cancer never dimmed your sense of humor. When you left us, there was standing room only at your funeral, the queen of Florida and the best grandma ever. Every Yom Kippur, my family would sit down for our last meal before the fast, and we would go around the table and say sorry to each other for any transgressions we made against family members in the past year. And without fail, every time when it was Zadie's turn, he would say, I have nothing to atone for. I'm perfect. Year after year, this would happen. And every year we would tease him by saying, what about you stealing peanuts from the nut box or sneaking sushi? His response was always, I don't know what you're talking about because I do nothing wrong. I'm perfect. And he said with a cheeky grin that phrase. Bubby would get annoyed and roll her eyes and tease him back. She would give up after a bit of banter and usually would follow it up with her green cake or her mandel bread. We miss you, Bubby and Zadie, so much on these holy days. My dad was a very social being. He could find someone to talk to no matter where he was. Once, when we were on vacation in Mexico City, he pointed to a group of older men across the street and he said, I bet they speak Yiddish. He walked across to them and sure enough, they were speaking Yiddish. so he joined them in conversation. That was my dad. Grandma was a tough cookie. She got up early around 5 a.m. on purpose every day. She swam laps, and then she stood on her head each and every day. This made her strong. As the Yiddish phrase goes, she was strong like bull. In her younger years, she loved ice cream and she had a sweet tooth, but nobody would know it because she was always as slender as could be and perfectly put together. Grandma traveled the world with my huge-hearted grandpa and brought back jewelry and masks and small artwork which colored her home to remind her of those adventures. Grandma, I miss you and your red lipstick and your strong scent. Grandma was a sweet and loving person. She never said a bad thing about anyone. I can see her now getting her kitchen ready for Passover and then sitting down to have a cup of coffee. She loved coffee. She regularly enjoyed 8 to 9 cups of coffee a day. She was the loving, warm grandma that every kid wanted. You could feel her warmth in her heart just by looking into her eyes. She left my world way too soon. We love you and we miss you on this holy, holy day. Abuelo, your rhythmic jingle, you would whistle at me while watching me play basketball in so many stinky gyms. You never missed a game. I loved it when you were watching me, egging me on. On the weekend, we would pull out the Saturday Night Fever VHS and dress up like John Travolta in the one white suit with wingtips. We would grab the round hairbrush to sing and do the dance while watching. I miss the talks we would have on my way to school, which you drove me to up until high school every single day. What I miss most is your unsolicited life advice. Remember when I told you I wanted to move to California, but I was scared? And you said, you have to go live your life, because if you don't, who will? Si tú no la vives, ¿quién la va a vivir? Abuelo, I could always smell you when you took a shower and were ready for bed. The smell of Drakkar cologne would fill the air. You were in your fancy pajama set, full outfit. When I questioned you, why do you always get so done up before going to bed? And you told me, you never know who you might meet in your dreams. Oh, how I miss those one-liners. You were always ready to catch us off guard and make us laugh. Your relationship with Abuela is what I admired most about you. Over 63 years of marriage, and it wasn't all roses. Oh, how I loved both of you. Your love for your children and your grandchildren was everything to you, Abuelo. You gave me unconditional love always. Abuelo, te amo. Beloved child, like a butterfly dancing in the wind, the moment came and went when I held you here in my arms and kissed the softest petaled cheeks. How I miss your shining face, my baby. The magic sparkle in your eyes, such sweet music, laughter and giggles, beyond words, songs of beauty from your smile. Every day and every night, forever, I love you. Tiny hand held in mine. Our spirit flees together, more than a dream. Dear one, you are my heart's universe. And to be with you again, I would give everything. But even as my soul yearns to feel your baby warm breath and the river of sorrow flows forth with tears of longing, you, my lovely little butterfly, are life eternal's treasure, precious daughter, I found in heaven.